And next up, we have TradeTrust from Singapore, who is also in the business and commerce category.
Okay, good. With that, let me begin. Good day to everybody. My name is Furkan Akram Khan from the Infocom Media Development Authority of Singapore. And today I'm here to talk about TradeTrust and how we can transform the way you trade. Cross-border trade today is complex. Any one shipment can involve multiple parties and it involves exchanges across multiple systems. It is inefficient, is largely paper-based, resulting in manual handling and a vulnerability to fraud. And last but not least, it is fragmented. For those that are not paper-based and have actually digitalized, the ecosystem consists of a lot of fragmented systems where actually exist in silos. So what do we do about it? What we and IMDA have come up with is a TradeTrust is an open source framework, and it aims to verify the authenticity, source of a document using decentralized methods and create electronic transferable records, which comply to the model law of ETRs. We categorize these documents into two buckets, verifiable documents and transferable documents. For verifiable documents, what we use is called the method verifiable credentials method. These are your certifications, your licenses, your packing list. So documents that you just have to understand the data and ensure that the data comes from a credible source and the data has not been tampered with. And for the second class of documents, transferable documents, your examples are negotiable instruments such as your bill of lading, your bill of exchange. We use NFT and smart contracts to ensure that you're able to verify independently and ensure that the title ownership passes from one hand to the next. Just to clarify that TradeTrust as a framework, it is not a product. We do not eat into the business layers. It sits as a middleware, as an adapter, plugging into public blockchain. So we neither operate the blockchain nor do we step on roach into the business aspect. We operate as a middleware, as an adapter to allow these applications, the platforms that are already there. So we aim to support industry to accelerate digitalization, ensuring that everyone can digitalize in a fair and appropriate manner. There are multiple use cases for TradeTrust. Specifically, our team in IMDA, we are focusing on the trade logistics use cases, so either trade finance and trade logistics, and we leave the other ecosystem players out there to talk about the more niche areas of digital art, supply chain, and whatnot. So over the last few years, we have advanced from multiple successful pilots to live shipments. We have concluded more than 8 live shipments with over 25 successful TradeTrust trials. We've worked with 70 over participants globally and been recognized internationally and with numerous papers and numerous awards. Just to highlight one use case, specifically for our trade finance use case, using the TradeTrust framework, we've actually have 5 parties interoperating or a trade finance use case with a letter of credit. The processing time was under 5 minutes for everyone in the chain. So all 5 parties, under 5 minutes, they're able to process the document. They actually saw a savings of $400 per EBL transaction. And the whole trade finance flow, which would normally take 30 to 35 days, was completed in 10 working days. Just to share briefly on our global partnerships, we work with the like of MERS, ICICI, PIL, SWIFT, and even other government counterparts to ensure that we have a robust network of players on the network. TradeTrust manifests the benefits of digital trade. So we specifically target SDG 9, 10, 12, 17. 9 because, of course, we're using new technology. 10 because it is open source, available for anyone and everyone develop. We don't discriminate. Responsible consumption. We reduce the paper backlog and we help in the decarbonization efforts. Partnerships for gold because it's a framework. It naturally needs partnerships. So we like to work with everyone to actually grow the network. Yes, so call to action. Yep, thank you very much.
And that is time. Just a heads up, TradeTrust, I don't know if your slides stopped working halfway through. So if you want to just throw up your contact slide, maybe so everyone can see the contact slide. I think your screen share stopped halfway through. Jurors, any questions? Feel free to raise your hands.
Okay. Who are the people that the product actually serve, the population that it serves, the categories of people, and how do you ensure it's inclusive for them, knowing the part that NFTs and the blockchain are still sometimes a little bit new and, something that's new for a lot of people? How do you make it inclusive for the people you are serving, and, who are the people that you are really, really serving or using this? What categories of people?
Apologies, I can't hear quite well. Could you just repeat the question?
Okay, I said, what categories of people are you serving? What categories of people, and how do you ensure that it's inclusive for them, knowing the fact that NFTs and blockchain are still a little bit novel for a lot of people? So, by identifying the categories of people that you serve, and how do you make sure it's inclusive for them?
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. So we actually serve a wide variety, and the key aspects of it, we are dealing with carriers. So shipping lines, they are very well versed with blockchain technology. We also deal with the banks. So banks, again, at the forefront, they know how to use the technology that you're referring to. We deal with traders, global traders, as well as MSMEs. So for global traders, they are quite familiar with the technology, so that's not an issue. For MSMEs, we work with our various divisions within IMDA because we are authority to actually help the local SMEs to upskill themselves. So we have various initiatives to actually roll this out. So that's how we work with the different players. So there are just a few of them. So traders, carriers, banks, logistic providers. Yes. Hope that answers the question.
The next juror who had their hand raised, I think it was Marvin.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the great pitch. And I've got a question, like, so you are in an open source project, am I right? So are you
Yes.
planning on making money from it? Because like when you're talking about smart contracts and blockchain, you need to pay like gas fees. So there is like you have costs, I think.
Sure. So we don't aim to make money. This is given to the world free of cost as a digital public good or digital public infrastructure, because IMDA is a government authority. So we've also pitched it at the WTO, WCO. This is a framework aiming to help everyone digitalize. So as you can see, we've also partnered, I think one of the countries, Mauritius, came to us to actually adopt the framework to issue their telecom licenses. So the whole idea is that this is not for profit. It's meant to be given to the world open source.
Great. And we have time for one last quick question, Donald.
Yes, great presentation. My one question is, you mentioned that for every usage, there is $400 saved. How do you calculate that?
Thank you very much for that question. So this is actually for a trade finance use case where the applicant has to apply for a letter of credit. How we calculated it, it was a mixture of the courier fees, because you have to actually, in the paper process, you have to courier the paper from one party to the next. So for the transaction that I mentioned, it was actually a party based in Singapore, Singapore trader with an Indian buyer, and the shipment came from Miami to Pipa Passport. So the shipment came from US to India, but the parties were sitting down in Singapore and India. So in a traditional flow, the paper would have been couriered from US to Singapore, Singapore to India. So there were different legs. So we calculated the courier fee. Next up is, of course, the working capital saved. So if the transaction actually took the 30 to 35 days to be completed, so based on the working capital that was used for the loan, they would have actually incurred a higher fee. So we actually calculated that due to the reduction in time from 35 days to 10 working days, the seller himself saved about another $400. But so we have not quantified the savings for the other parties, just the seller in this instance. Thanks. Yes, I know it's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just because we didn't see your last contact slide, if you want to just drop your email or your contact information in the chat, so if jurors have more questions or want to reach out, feel free to do that. And then, of course, jurors, just a gentle reminder, you do have your voting link, so please be sure to vote. And if you're still having issues with your voting link, let us know in the chat. And I'll pass the microphone back over to Jason.
Then I'll stop sharing my screen. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michaela. Thanks, Jason.
All right. Thank you.